Started here in a minute. Actually, started in just 1 second, folks. Just gotta invite some people to have the cheapest version, so to take a little time here. He likes a good old verse recitation on a Friday evening. Right. Looks like 3 people have seen the link on Twitter. Wow. 4. Let's see how many viewers we've got here. Two viewers. Oh, I think that's Twitter, and it's those are both me, I think. So anyway, hello, good evening, everyone. Seen the show before. I have a book, Masterpieces of Religious Verse, which I purchased in Galena, Illinois, in a used bookstore. Book. And, it's got 700 pages. Of course, the last page 629, it's index of authors, index of titles. That's what it is. It's called Masterpieces of Religious Verse, edited by James Dalton Munson. And it's a reference to poems under different categories, like just opening up here is life's frustrations, trials and struggles, the Christian life, the nations, humility, with poems, and I think it was published sometime in the 40s. So it was some type, probably, and maybe a minister or something like that. A right. So kind of organized into all these different things. So it's a nice book, and it's fire. StreamYard gives me an excuse to read poetry, which I don't do enough. I try to read poetry every now and then. I think it's good to, it's like experimenting with the expressed word. Words are so precious. Such a gift from God to be able to have words. And poetry is words. And this is Masterpieces of Religious Verse. It's mostly Christian poetry, or so. Now we have the term New Age, but in the 40s and before, around that time, William Butler Yeats and William Blake, not really Christian in that way. Christian maybe kind of cultural, but Yeats and Blake both were. It's tough to give the word magic. Well, every word you try to use doesn't quite fit. You know what I mean. Occult, Gnostic, all these words are words that are slippery. But there's a lot of those types of poems here. And it's funny that I'm talking about that, because on this page that we opened up, the subject is the nation and the nations. And there's a poem called The New Age. Noel, who lived from 1859 to 1905. So why don't we start with this poem, The New Age? When navies are forgotten and fleets are useless things, when the dove shall warm her bosom beneath the eagle's wings, when the memory of the past is strange and old, when the nations have one banner, creeds have found one fold, when the hand that sprinkles midnight with its dust of powdered stones has hushed this tiny tumult of sects and swords and guns, and hate's last note of discord in all God's world shall cease, in the conquest which is service, in the victory which is peace. Read it again. I'll read it again here. When navies are forgotten and fleets are useless things, when the dove shall warm her bosom beneath the eagle's wings, when memory of battles that last strange and old, when nations have one banner, creeds have found one, when the hand that springs midnight with its dust of palaces has hushed this tiny tumult of sects and swords and guns, and hate's last note of discord, all God's world shall cease, and the conquest which is victory which is peace. Now, it's kind of fun. I know nothing about this poet, Frederick Lawrence Knowles, died in 1905. It's like the young age of 36. But this is a funny poem. It's, this idealistic, hopeful poem about a future time when wars will cease and the fleets are useless things, has hushed the tiny tumult of sects and swords and guns, in the conquest which is certain. Now, I don't know if this guy was a devout Christian, but it's millenarian fervor. It's called the New Age. There were plenty of people who wrote like this about this same, that there was a New Age coming. Who, like Carl Jung or Bill Wilson, was the just New Age. He's talking. It almost sound. This is almost kind of Blakean in a way. It is kind of Blakean in the sense that it's like looking forward to some new perfect time that is going to time where like all of humanity will converge into peace, and it's fun. It's like New Ageism, or maybe he's literally talking about big difference is the human race is God just part of everything that is painful, the reality, and we are going to end God as this, and one day God will be realized through like the Hegelian dialectic, and we will paradise on earth, or is there a person that's separate in heaven and he will the I don't And some people like mix those two things a little bit. Like one time I heard an interview with NT Wright, and I'm like, do you think that it's possible that just use providence to bring about the new heaven? He was basically like, and I mean, we can't be completely close to that, but there's sort of this like back, like this type of talk is sort of um, it's not taken seriously anymore. This was true liberalism, true democratic hope, which is now I feel like I feel like the leaders don't believe it, and nor do we. So this it's kind of funny that I was talking about how this book has New Age poems. There's a poem called "The New Age." Let's see what else we got here. There's a lot of good. Let's find a poet whose name sounds familiar. Okay, here's. No, it's too long. I'm going to stick with the short ones. There's another kind of cultish type of guy. Ghost. Hmm. There's some bakers. Most of my favorite poems in this book are like um, lyrics. Charles Wesley, Isaac Watts. These people were some of the greatest religious writers. There's some things I've seen it Longfellow with like poems are too long for Twitter. Okay, look, Shakespeare, perfect choice for this Caesar. His life was gentle, and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand and say to all the world, "This was a man." Shakespeare. Oh, we got no. I don't think we've had any viewers so far. That's fine. That's fine. Last time I did, I had two guests, and it was really good. It was very good. I think that probably people who would see this don't understand what I'm doing. Oh, now I've just got one viewer. Okay, so I did have somebody, you know, I can't believe people watch stuff and don't just like or comment. And just say, hey, or just like give like an emoji. Just give an emoji. Here's a poem called The Bible by John Greenleaf. We search the world for truth. We call the good, the true, the beautiful. In great stone and written scroll, in all fields of the soul, and very seekers of the best, come back laden from our quest to find that all the sages said is in the book. Amen. That is that I agree. This is awesome. I'm reading it. We search the world for truth we call the good, the true, the beautiful. From graven stone and scroll and all old flower fields of the soul. And weary seekers of the best, we come back laden from our quest to find that all the sages said is in our others read. Um, the basically what he's saying is like we go around looking for interesting things in the truth, good, the true, and beautiful, and in the end, it's just in your grandma's, in your mother's Bible. And I actually have some videos on this channel about that very idea. So very good, very good. This is called Jacob's Ladder. And there's no, it says Negro spiritual. Jacob's Ladder. We are climbing Jacob's Ladder, soldier of the cross. Every round goes higher and higher. So, sinner, do you love my Jesus? If you love him, why not serve him, soldier of the cross? We are climbing higher, soldier of the cross. I like that. It's almost like I don't know if it's a song or if it's a chant, but we are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldier of the cross. Every round goes higher, higher, soldier. Sinner, do you love my Jesus, soldier of the cross? If you love him, why not serve him, soldier of the cross? We are climbing higher, higher. Hmm. I actually, it almost, the first line, we are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldier of the cross. We are climbing higher, higher, soldier of the cross. And it almost makes me think that they are analogizing Jacob's ladder and the cross together, which I don't think is an exact analogy, but but I think it works. And um, never thought of it before. I'm sure if I Googled it, million people have thought of it before, but beautiful little poem by says Negro Scripture. All right. Short one by Robert Browning. The subject is life's frustrations. This is called Bishop Ephraim's Apology. The fight begins with himself. A man's worth something. God stoops o'er his head. Satan looks up at his feet, both toes. He's left himself in the middle. The soul and grows along that battle through his life. Never leave growing that life to come. Okay. So I was kind of zoning out. I'm going to read it again. It begins. So, I don't know what it is, but I can never understand a poem the first time. I always have to read it twice. I have to not understand it if I understand it every time, especially with some of these other writers that didn't speak as we speak. When the fight begins with himself, a man's worth something. God stoops o'er his head. Oh, I got this. When the fight begins within himself, a man's worth something. God stoops o'er his head. Satan looks between his feet, both tugged. He left himself in the middle. The soul wakes and grows. Prolong that battle through his life. Never leave growing till it resonates with my life. There's a fight within me sometimes, certain issues, and when the fight begins within himself, a man's worth something. God stoops o'er his head. Satan looks up between his feet, boat tug. He's left himself in the middle. The soul wakes and grows. Prolong that battle through his life. Never leave growing to the life to come. Fight probably will never be over until the life to come. It's tough to accept sometimes. Sometimes I hope I will just find a way to be so strong that I won't struggle anymore. But I feel very far from that. I really have to just settle within myself that I'm going to Satan, that Satan is looking up between the feet, God is pulling you from above, and there's a fight in the middle. And you have to keep growing above. But there's this thing about soul wakes and grows. I feel this is called From Bishop Bluegrim's Apology. So it has the feel that there's maybe some of these images are more fleshed out in the rest of the poem, like just more. So, but so I feel like the full thrust isn't. So, but should I just read, or do you like the commentary? Let me know in the comments. I I will probably delete this. I never expect anyone to come on here, but it would be fun if somebody ran it. Maybe one or two more. It's crazy. I had another viewer. Just wondered who was that viewer. Just hmm. Sons of Failure. I don't want to read them. Of course, there's lots of Psalms in King James version. I don't even own a King James version. Probably should. Good name. Let's read a poem. See, here's Augustus Montague Toplady from 1747, 1778. He lived, and I guess he was the man who wrote the lyrics to the hymn Rock of Ages, which probably heard before if you're a Christian. Why don't we read 4 stanzas? Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let the water flood from thy riven savage flow. Be of sin the double pure. Cleanse me from its guilt and power. Not the labors of my hands can fulfill thy law's demands. Could my respite know? Could my tears forever flow? All for sin could not atone. Thou must save, and thou alone. Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross I cling. to thee for address. Help us look to thee for grace. Foul I to the fountain fly. Wash me, Savior, or I die. While I draw this fleeting breath, when my eyelids close in death, through tracks unknown, see thee on thy judgment throne. Rock of ages, cleft from me, be hiding myself in thee. Augustus Montague Topley. Now, I found that one. It's wonderful words. I'm curious. He lived from 1740 to 1870. Didn't live a long life. 30 years. Probably built that in his 30s. I'm curious what denomination he was from. I'm guessing they're Anglican, or Presbyterian, maybe Methodist. You're in the Methodist starting. See what year John. John Wesley lived. 1703 to 1791. This guy, it's definitely got some Wesleyan vibes. They definitely sang about baptism a little bit. And he surely did. What was that in here? Help us, foul I to the fountain fly, wash me safe. So, Chet, tell me I think Mr. Topic is from. I'm going to say either Presbyterian or maybe I'm going to say Presbyterian because it's a little bit more intellectual than a Methodist, but not as Catholic as a Lutheran, and probably not as Catholic as an Anglican either. So let's see. What do you say? Let's get a poll going. It looks like 100% we're saying Presbyterian. 100% of the, although we're giving Baptism a serious serious chance. Let's look at one. Let's see. What denomination was Augustus? What denomination was Montague? Wow, I was very wrong. I hate to admit it. Augustus Montague Topley was an Anglican cleric, a staunch Calvinist, known for his hymns like Rock of Ages, and was a major opponent of John Wesley for many years. His church in London. So he was kind of a Presbyterian. So he was he was a Calvinist. We got to find more about this. I didn't know if they were Anglican Calvinists or Calvinist. It's preaching in his last 3 years, mainly in London, preaching regularly at a French Calvinist chapel. What French Calvinist? It's like he was Anglican a long time. This has been a very famous thing for a long time. Toplady was a prolific essayist and letter correspondent on a wide range of topics. Anyway, it's a pretty good time to end the show. I want to thank everyone for participating. It's a good show tonight. Thanks everyone for being here. I had being my one of the show. I wonder who it was. Anyway, like subscribe as always. Contact me with any questions. Thank you.